That morning, standing in the middle of my cornfields with the sun just breaking over the barn my great-grandfather built in 1890, I thought nothing could shake the ground under my feet. Then, Karen Blackstone, the HOA president, rolled up in a white Mercedes with two black SUVs behind her, flanked by lawyers and men in suits. She marched across my land in a crimson blazer and said, clear as a gunshot, "This ranch isn't yours anymore. You've got 72 hours to clear out. My family's legacy." The land I'd poured my savings into was suddenly declared stolen by a stack of papers. She waved in my face. I'd walked away from a comfortable six-figure consulting job to rebuild this place. Every dollar I had, every bit of inheritance from my father was buried in these fields. My father's dying words echoed in me every single day. "Son, promise me you'll keep this land alive." And now, some HOA president with shark-white teeth and a leather briefcase was telling me I was a trespasser on my own farm. She even had a sign ready at the gate, "Crownstone Meadows Luxury Homes coming soon." I remember gripping the old deed in my hand so tight my knuckles went white, thinking this can't be real. Not here, not to me. The first time Karen showed me those forged documents, I could feel something in me unravel. The signature looked like my father's, but not quite. He'd been in hospice when they claimed he signed it too weak to even hold a pen, and yet there it was, his name on a transfer of 2,500 acres to some bogus community development trust. I told her she was wrong, that this was our ranch, but she just snapped her briefcase shut and smirked. "Moving is easier when it's voluntary, Mr. Callahan." Then she left me standing in that barn like a fool while her crew measured out my land like it already belonged to them. When the fencing crews showed up the next morning driving steel posts and stringing razor wire around my property, I felt like a prisoner staring at my own home through chain link. They stationed a security guard at the gate, a former cop I knew by name, telling me politely but firmly I couldn't come in. And to twist the knife deeper, the bank called yanking my loan because of the legal dispute over my collateral. Overnight, I was painted in the local paper as some broke farmer squatting on land that wasn't mine. Photos of my fields, doctored to look like a wasteland, spread all over town. I won't lie. There was a night when I sat in my truck just outside the fence line staring at the barn lights through the wire, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake giving my life to this place. Maybe I should have stayed in my cushy city job. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe my father was wrong. Maybe this land wasn't worth ruining myself over. For the first time, I thought about walking away. But then I called my daughter Anna. She was finishing her law finals at Northwestern, and the moment she heard what was happening, she didn't hesitate. She slammed her books shut and drove home with her laptop scanners and the fire in her eyes she'd had since she was 10. We sat at the old oak table surrounded by legal documents, and she spotted it, the forged signature, the difference in the cross on the T. She said, "Dad, this is fake, but good enough to fool a notary." That was the first spark of hope I'd felt in days. Digging deeper, we uncovered the truth. Karen Blackstone wasn't just a power-hungry HOA president. She was really Victoria Blackwood, a convicted real estate fraudster who had changed her name and reinvented herself here. And she wasn't after houses, she was after lithium. A neighbor, Bob, showed us a photo he'd snapped of Karen handing a folder and a USB drive to a slick CEO from Crownstone Developers. Then, Tom Rogers, a former Crownstone employee, risked everything to meet us one night at Mill Creek Bridge. He gave us proof a contract showing billions of dollars on the line, a deal with Tesla Mining. Crownstone needed exactly our acreage for permits, and Karen had been lining it all up for years. That revelation lit a fire in me. They weren't just stealing my land, they were ready to turn it into a toxic pit poisoning. Water-destroying farmland, burying 4 generations of my family under concrete and sludge. With Anna running a TikTok account that went viral with hundreds of thousands rallying to our side, and with Margaret Sullivan, a retired land rights attorney, joining us pro bono, we started fighting back. Every late night at that kitchen table, surrounded by maps, contracts, and the century-old deed, felt like gearing up for war. Karen wasn't sitting still. She launched her own campaign, blasting me in newspapers, hiring PR firms to smear me as a desperate, debt-ridden squatter. Cars parked outside our rental watching us for hours. Anonymous texts threatened Anna's safety if we didn't back off. My hands shook when I read those messages because now it wasn't just about land, it was about my daughter's life. But Anna wouldn't back down. She told me, "Dad, this is exactly why we can't quit." And I knew she was right. The day of the community meeting, I stood in the back while Karen dazzled the room with slides of shiny homes and job growth projections. People applauded like she was handing out gold. Then, Anna fact-checked her live, pulling up the state website and showing there were no environmental studies, no permits, just lies dressed up in corporate polish. Whispers spread through the crowd, suspicion cracking her facade. And then came the courthouse. October air-packed benches, news crews buzzing, and Karen sweeping in with 6 corporate attorneys like some queen arriving at her coronation. For the first half, I thought we were done. Her lawyers paraded forged contracts, seals, and permits with such confidence the jury nodded along. My heart sank. I almost believed them myself. Then Anna stood up. My little girl, 22 years old, facing down Hartwell and Associates in her second-hand blazer, her voice steady. She projected the side-by-side signatures, explained the forensics showed the ink used didn't even exist in 2019. Gasps filled the room. Then Tom Rogers took the stand, exposing emails about Project White Gold and the Tesla mining deal. You could see Karen's smile curdle her eyes, darting, her composure cracking. Anna delivered the killing blow. She pointed out the petition Karen had waved around 347 signatures in a town with only 298 households, some names belonging to people who'd been dead for years. The judge leaned forward, eyebrows raised, and asked Karen to explain. She snapped, shouting about how lithium could make us all rich, how we were fools for resisting. That was it. Her mask dropped in front of the entire town. And then Anna pulled up Section 47B of Crownstone's own contract. It said any fraud in property ownership would transfer development rights to the injured party. The courtroom went silent as Anna read it out, her voice strong, almost shaking with triumph. Since Karen committed fraud, the entire Crownstone Meadows development legally belongs to my father. The words hit like a hammer. The judge confirmed it. Lake Ranch was ours, and every contract Karen had touched was void. I'll never forget the sight of her being led away in handcuffs, red-faced, screaming. Marcus will never let this stand while the gavel echoed through the courtroom. After months of threats, smears, and razor-wire fences, after nights of doubt where I nearly gave up, we had won. Not just saved our land, but exposed the rot at the core of her empire. And standing there, breathing in the silence after the storm, I realized the truth. You can try to bury a family's legacy under forged papers and greed, but some roots run too deep to be stolen.